spoiler-free review of Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade. I was lucky enough to get a advanced reader copy of this book late last month. So I read it. I did my review. My spoiler review is on our website, radiorebellionpodcast.wordpress.com, so you can read the full review there. And we also have a spoiler-free review on NetGalley. I forgot to put them on the description of the video. I'll make sure to put a link to those down there. And Alte, just ask me questions as we go, if you want, because I know you haven't read it. I'm not sure if you're going to read it, but if you have any questions,
I'm not
just
sure
let me.
either. I'll be honest. I want to hear your feedback. I have not heard great things about it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, have you read any of the reviews out there, or at least some of the tweets that some people have been starting
No,
to put up?
more than anything, podcasts that I've listened to, they mentioned it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard like a full review on it, but yeah, I usually even check out the Star Wars Explained. I have not checked that one
Yeah, I
out.
know they have at least one or two reviews.
Yeah.
So, like I said on my review, and I think I mentioned it to you before we started our episode a couple of weeks ago, it depends how you feel about the main character. Iskat Akaris is this young Jedi Padawan at the beginning of the book. And again, this is spoiler free or minor spoiler. There's some things that either happen in the first two chapters I might mention, or that are obvious. Again, this is called Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade, so we know this is a Jedi that's gonna fall to the dark side. It's gonna turn to be an Inquisitor. But this is a 100% Iskat Akaris book. We follow her throughout. I think she's in every page, every single page of the book. She's there. So if
Okay.
you like the High Republic, you like big ensemble cast. We have three Jedi's doing this thing, two Jedi's doing here. We have the now doing that. You're not gonna enjoy this. This is one person, one book, very similar to Tempest Runner with Lorna D, which some people liked. I enjoyed it. Some people didn't because it really didn't move the High Republic story, but it was her story. So if you like Lorna D, you like Tempest Runner, same thing. If you like this character and what her voice is and why she doesn't like the Jedi, again, she's gonna fall to the dark side, so it's not a spoiler, then you'll enjoy it. A lot of people have not enjoyed her view of the Jedi in general, the Jedi Order, and they don't like the book. And I specifically say on my review, if you don't like that, don't think you're gonna enjoy this book. If you're not one that blames Mace Windu or that say the Jedi were wrong for the fall of the Republic, you're not going to enjoy this book. It's very focused in that Jedi are at fault for a lot of the things that happen. And at the beginning, I'll say I wasn't enjoying it because I'm not one of those persons. But then I said, you know what? I'm just gonna put myself in this character. I'm reading her story. Let me just see it from her point of view, and that way I enjoyed the book enough. I give it a positive review, maybe a little bit too high, but there's a lot of things that I did enjoy. How it connects a lot of other Star Wars story. I think it works great with Brotherhood from Mike Chen because there's similar time periods. There's something that happens. I mean, we know that Brotherhood, the main thing that happens is this bombing on Katon that they send Obi-Wan over there. That's mentioned here. Hey, there's been a bombing in Katon. The reason why a lot of Jedi have to be promoted for Padawans to Knights and from Knights to Master because they are needed in the war efforts, which happens at the end of Brotherhood. They explained it. It happens here. So in that sense, it kind of works in a good balance. But again, if you hate when people say, "Oh, Mace Windu, it's all his fault. He's just too mean to everyone." Oh, the Jedi are at fault. Why didn't they see Palpatine manipulating everyone? Why are they against attachments and all this? You're not going to enjoy this book. It's very focused in. So basically, her stories is being her master dies in the very early on. So again, not a big spoiler. And she tells her something. Hey, I made a promise, and then Iskat has to figure out this promise that was made from her master to someone else that she's never heard of. Why that? Why? What does that has to do with Iskat's story? And every time she asks questions to the Jedi, goes to the temple, to the life, to the archives, she's told, forget about it, forget about the past, just move forward. And for her, that's a non-starter. So a lot of the things that the Jedi way of no attachment, just be in the moment, those are things that don't meld with her. So again, if you're not one that's gonna be enjoying those type of questions and finger pointing against at the Jedi, I don't think you'll enjoy this book. But if you do, if you think that the Jedi are at fault for some other issues, if you think they should be more open to attachments and to questions, then you might enjoy it. But again, it's very focused on Iskat Akaris. If you don't hit it with this character early on, you might not be too interested for the rest of the book. It's an easy read. It's not too difficult to get into it. It's short chapters, so you can read them as you have time during the day. I do like the way that the characters that we have, how they're explained, how their background is kind of brought into it. I like Iskat in general. There's a temple droid technician that I really enjoy. Tualon, who's the Twi'lek, that's also on the cover that we know also falls to the dark side. He's a good balance to her when their stories are connected, but it's not in too much of the book. One of the big criticisms for the book is that we don't spend enough time with her as an Inquisitor, and I do agree. This is not that long of a book, maybe 320 pages. Again, I did the digital version, so I'm not sure. But let's say 300 pages, probably 220 are with her as a Jedi, and the last 80 are with her as an Inquisitor. So it's like, I wanted more. And once it's go ahead.
Is the fact that it's called Rise of the Red Blade, like, I would think that it's her transition to turn into, or it's not really that.
So again, that's not really, because once she turns to there's one thing. Let's say the way she needs to get her Inquisitor name, there's something she needs to do. So that's probably the rise of the Red Blade, is what she needs to do to kind of be officially considered an Inquisitor and be given her whatever sister name. I'm not going to spoil it here because I was waiting for it. So
that's like a big thing, the number?
For her.
Okay.
They kind of ask her, are you ready to pick your number or your name? And she's not ready until she completes this task that's given to her. Okay. The reason she falls to the dark side is very interesting because we haven't seen that before. Okay. The way we see people fall to the dark side, and they explain that in the book, it's one way. The reason for her going to the dark side is very different. So that was enjoyable. We know that Order 66 is going to come because it's in that time period. It caught me off guard. So at least that was a surprise. One thing that we talked about Path of Vengeance that we didn't enjoy too much, especially you, was the Battle of Jayla. It's covered in the comic book, so why are we retreading? The epilogue of this book is something that happened in a comic already. And then it expands it a little bit at the end.
Oh, you're gonna have to spoil this for me later. Curious.
It's not a spoiler that Iskat and Tualon are in the Darth Vader Charged Soul comics.
Oh, okay.
They don't have names or numbers in that comic, but the characters appear. They're doing something in, I think, issues 19 and 20. They're doing something in those issues.
Okay.
It's step for step. It's also in this book. So it's like, why are we wasting 10 pages in something that we already read somewhere else, where we can use this to maybe expand her time with the Inquisitors?
Is it a mission to a certain planet?
Yes, they need to go get
something
and so on. So it's not bad, but it's just there. We just read it while we're retreading, but it goes beyond the pages afterwards. So it doesn't end the same way the comic book does. It just keeps going a little bit more.
I would give it a pass in that sense because that comic book came out a while ago with Path of Vengeance. It's a comic that's still running.
Yeah. Let me see what else. Again, canon connections. The way I do my reviews, I have the story, ease of reading, characters, canon connections. And
believe it or not, I've read them.
Thank you. At least someone. And if it expands Star Wars. Canon connections, I think, is great. If you're someone that loves to connect books and movies and TV shows, it works great.
Should readers expect fun cameos in the book?
Yes, there are a lot of, some are cameos, so have, again, Mace Windu's there, Yoda's there, and we see a little bit of them. If it's the fall of a Jedi, you know that Palpatine is going to be around.
Oh, of course.
There's some new cool clone troopers that show up. This happens, chapter 2 starts with the Battle of Geonosis, so they're going to, you know where we're at. They have
that far back?
Yeah, so the first chapter that, our friend Darth Internus, who was here, told us the first chapter, they changed it. The first chapter of the book is not what was originally there. So chapter 2 then goes to Battle of Geonosis. They told, hey, our boy Obi-Wan can always strap on Geonosis. We gotta go find him. And then all these Jedi go there. And
Nice.
things happen. And that's when kind of the story starts.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say how many Jedi, but they tell you how many Jedi die in that battle. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Of Jedi. And they keep dying throughout the book.
Okay.
So I think people didn't enjoy this book as much as I did. I didn't mind it. It's not gonna be on my top 10, but it's not in my bottom either.
Okay.
It's again there's just one point of view. So you can't say, I don't like this character, I like this other one. It's just one. So if you don't like her from the start, you're not going to enjoy this book. And again, it's a constant blaming of the Jedi. And rejoice because she's one with the Force. Every time she's told it, she just gets angrier and angrier. So every Jedi tenant, she's like, shut the hell up. Which when I read it, I understand. Because in the High Republic, a lot of people, why can't you just say that? No, someone died. We need to mourn them and kind of think about them. The Jedi, forget about it. So reading it, I understand. But just talking like this, no, you're a Jedi. You got to forget about it. So again, I don't know if you particularly might enjoy it. I understand why a lot of people are iffy about it because those are the same reasons I gave.
You had told me the whole point of view thing. I mean the whole bashing on the Jedi, and at first I was thrown off because I didn't know it was like from her point of view the whole time. I thought it was like maybe Delilah was like, "Hey, the Jedi suck." I'm like, "Oh, come on." But it does make sense because if we had a book from Darth Vader's perspective, he wouldn't be like, oh man, those Jedi, I look back with fond memories.
Yeah, so that's when I probably about 50 or 60 pages into the book, as I gotta get off of my head and just get into this character, what she's going through and why she thinks that way. And then it makes sense. It's not just Delilah saying all the Jedi sucks and the Order sucks with multiple point of views. It's this character has gone through these experiences, and every time she asks questions, she's told to forget about them. So I would understand why. And she meditates, she tries to put those things behind her, but she can't. It's one of my first lines of my reviews is maybe she wasn't meant to be a Jedi, and that's explored.
And that's okay.
But also one thing is to be aware, and Delilah says it on the thank you at the beginning, some of the opening notes. She said this is a very personal story. There's a warning because there's a suicide in this book, so you are ready for it. She gave again. Delilah S. Doss is very open in that beginning, explaining her own suicide attempts, and from then on, how she keeps a journal every day. One thing that went right, one thing that she liked about the day or something. So in that sense,
wow.
I don't want to bash the book too much if I had any big issues, because I understand how personal some of the characters in this book are to her and the story. So I'm surprised a little bit even that Lucasfilm allowed this book in terms of how much it attacks what we love about the Jedi. But just from this character that has a lot of questions, and the master that she was supposed to answer those questions was never really there for her.
Okay.
So you kind of feel bad and understand why she kind of fell to the dark side, but maybe it's too much for a lot of readers. But again, it's Inquisitor, Rise to the Red Blade. There's not going to be redemption. Like you said, she's not going to be very happy with the Jedi. If you can get past those, you'll enjoy it. But if you're like, no, the Jedi are perfect, then it's not for you.
I love the Jedi. I don't think they're perfect. I do blame Mace Windu for a lot of things.
Alberto, perfect.
I wanted to ask you, Alberto. I've heard from multiple people that they wish it had been a two-parter. Do you agree with this?
So I read this from our friend Arsu. In her review, she put that she wished it was a two-parter. When I read her review, I agree, because I think it's twofold. I think it will work better for a lot of readers that have issues with the book if we spend more time with her as an Inquisitor. Maybe this book, again, is like 350 pages. Maybe do her turn to the dark side a little bit early. Some people have complained that the missions that she goes in are very similar, might be repetitive.
Okay.
Could be. Maybe trim those a little bit and spend more time as Inquisitors. And that people wanted to learn more about the Inquisitorius. What does it feel to be an Inquisitor? What are their dogmas? We learn about the Jedi, let's learn about the Inquisitors. Yes, I will maybe made it a better book. But that's not the story,
I don't
because
think
it's just
Inquisitors have dogmas.
no, and it's you learn from them, and it's like I'm gonna kill everyone because I just wanna. We saw it in Kenobi. Everyone wants to be the next Grand Inquisitor. But then this book is about Iskat. It's not about the Jedi Order, about the Inquisitor. So in that sense, even if it's 100 pages of learning more about the Inquisitors, then the book shifts. It might be something different.
Okay.
If it's two separate books, one with her as a Jedi, and by the end she falls to the dark side, and then the next one is with her as an Inquisitor, it might work better. But I don't think that's the story that was being told, because then two straight books just following one character might not be the best.
Okay.
All right. I still gave it a 3.75 probe droids out of 5. I do recommend it as a Star Wars book. And even though she falls to the dark side, and of course Inquisitors are not the best, Delilah does something in telling readers and people that might feel different, might be told that they're weird, or just sit there and read that book till you memorize it and they learn a different way. She's telling them here, you're not different, you're not weird, you're good as you are. So it does, even if it's from someone that's falling to the dark side, there's someone there helping her. Maybe if you want to do something and they're telling you that you're wrong, maybe you should still do your thing and forget about what other people are saying. So in that sense, it does for people that might be neurodivergent or have been bullied or whatever, that they're not broken. And that's something that a character tells her master for most issues that they have. She does tell, you're not broken, we're all imperfect beings. So still that message carries throughout the book.
Okay, cool.
All right. So, Alti, before we go to